Howdy, my name is Grace Snow, and I'll be sharing my reflections on death for CRE number 1. To begin with, I do want to acknowledge something I've discussed in class and how barely anyone in our generation at Texas A&M has ever heard the death rattle or actually seen someone die, because I feel like the answer wouldn't be the same 100 or 200 or 500 years ago, or especially 2,000 years ago. Death was way too common, but now it's not anymore, and I thought that's something to talk about. And in the book titled Western Attitudes Toward Death, From Middle Ages to the Present, Philippi Aries says that death has been dissected, cut into bits by a series of little steps, which finally makes it impossible to know which step was the real death. And that really shows how detached our society has become from death as a natural part of life. Because when I die, I don't even want it to be all about me. The only legacy that I do want to leave is the positive impact that I make on people. And as a Christian called by God, I don't care about all the steps. I just want to be in peace with everyone else, accepting my death and just embracing the last moments with me in peace. And Aries also mentions that death has become ugly and hidden because it is. And similarly, Sarah Youngblood Gregory also makes a point in her article titled The Modern Taboo That Americans Just Can't Seem to Break. And she said that euphemism used for death can actually make every aspect of death more secretive and confusing, and how 92% of Americans that agreed about the importance of their end-of-life preferences, out of those, only 32% actually followed through, and that was almost concerning in my opinion. We know that death matters, but we avoid dealing with it. And when I asked my friend Tyler, he said he doesn't fear death because there is more to life beyond the physical. And as a Christian, he sees death as a natural cycle of life. So it seems like he doesn't have a hard time confronting the death itself. But Tucker, on the other hand, said that the idea of death makes him want to live life fully and not waste his life, but he feels like he hasn't done enough yet. However, while he fears death, he doesn't live in the fear of death. And obviously, we're not going to put ourselves in a situation where we would have to risk death every day. And while I agree that I want to live my life to the fullest, I don't agree with him that I haven't done enough. Because if we look at babies who were just born and unfortunately passed away, they didn't make a positive impact with their service or actions or words. They can't speak in the first place, but their lives do matter. So in that sense, my fear is just the people who would be left behind if I were to die. And while talking to Tucker, I remembered about carpe diem, seize the day to make my count. And while we all three agree that life shouldn't be taken for granted, and personally, I don't agree with the dualist idea that body is just a container for the soul, because for me, my body does matter and it's not an empty shell. And as a Christian, our body is a temple and we are created in the holy image of God. And this is the reason why we have to eat healthy, exercise, and treat our body with dignity and not as a tool or an empty shell. And in our faith journey in life, we're not just called to live like we're trying to pass the test, but we're called to live well and make the Christ in us shine as brightly as possible as a light in the darkness. And Ecclesiastes, the book of the Bible, reminds us that there's a time for everything, including death. So I don't have to fear death itself. My only fear is that I will impact those I love and the grief, and that these people would be carrying grief if I'm gone. Dwight from the show Office said, "You live every day, you only die once." And this reminds me to make every interaction count and to never take friendships or time for granted. But at the same time, I do fear how I might die, whether it would involve suffering or if I'd become a burden in the process of dying. Because according to SF Science in their video about death, they dream about things before they die, and that this is a way of our brain telling us to prepare to say goodbye. And Kenny Chang, she said that she has a deep gratitude for the time she had and the clarity for the things that are meaningful now, after she encountered a death of someone that she loves. And for me, this relates to memento mori that we discussed in class, to remember our death, not to fear death, but to recognize it and be aware of it so that we can live our life knowing that we are going to die and to make our days count. From a philosophical angle, Heidegger in Being and Time says that anxiety is caused by all the possibilities and death is the end of the possibilities. And for us humans, our existence is an issue and we keep asking why and how, and we're trying to figure out life. And one of the most defining traits that we have is that we are finite. We exist in time and we focus on what it means to exist. And to me, the God I believe in transcends time and place. But while I live in this world as a human being who is bound by time, I am called to live my life that shines His light to the world. So this is my purpose of living. Thank you.